Alhamdulillah, abduhu wasta'inuhu wastadihi wastaghfiruhu wa umminu bihi jalla wa ala wa la akfiruhu wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Rabbana la tuzigh qulubana ba'da idh hadaytana wa hab lana min ladunka rahmatan innaka anta wahhab. إنك جميع ناس اليوم لا ريب فيه إن الله لا يخلف الميعاد. Alhamdulillah. So today's subject is Zionist behavior. But before I get to that, I want to go through a few things. Of course, we've talked about that we're at the beginning of another stage in the history of not only Masjid al-Islam, As-Sabiqun movement, but we are, the world is in a transition. I mean, every day it's just big news that relates to Islam. In the movement, they used to have something that really came from management. Is what, when, where, how, and who. You know, when you want to talk about things in general. First of all, what is it you want to talk about? When did this, what time, historical period did this go on in? Where? Where was it at? You know, in America, Africa, Asia, Middle East? How? What was the process of this thing taking place? And who was it happening to? It's just a standard, if you want to write a story, if you want to go into any, these are the questions that you answer. You know, it makes it easy. It not only deals with management, but it deals with just writing a story. This is the questions you want to. So I want to talk a little bit about today, and the what is the Islamic movement? The Islamic movement globally, the Islamic movement especially in North America, the Islamic movement related to As-Sabiqun, As-Sabiqun al-Awwalun, the first rank, those who will lead the way and those who will show the way. You know, when you translate that ayat, that's where it translates into those who will lead the way and those who will show the way. Because Sabiq means to go out in front of everybody else. It means to win in a race. It's like a challenge. Sabiq also means that like As-Sabiqun are those who will recognize, in some cases, what should be done. They will answer all those questions: what, when, where, how, and who. They will answer all those questions in their own mind, and whatever the discordances are in the movement and human life, or that specific problem, they will go out in front of everybody else and they will solve the problem. That's what As-Sabiqun means. That's what the name, they'll go out in front of everybody else. When everybody else come along, they don't even recognize that it was a problem. If it was a problem, they don't know what happened to it. In the Mufassirs relate to As-Sabiqun as the people before Badr. Before Badr. Badr happened, was the first battle in Islam. I mean, the first one and it was about a year and a half after they had migrated to Al-Medina. And when the Quran refers to As-Sabiqun, the Mufassirs say that that's who they were talking about. Those people that accepted Islam when it was no guarantee or nothing, they accepted it on faith. They had the confidence that Allah was God and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was his messenger, and they didn't need anything else. They were certain of that. They had yaqeen. They had certainty. And so that was a great epic in Islamic history. We're living through, if nobody has recognized it, we're living through a great epic right now, not only in history, but especially in Islamic history. I mean, sometimes we put off things, or we smell or we hear on the news little things is developing. And sometimes we could have had this meeting on Tuesday, but we waited till today. Because last night or yesterday over there and this morning, great events is taking place. I mean, in Lebanon, Lebanon, it's not only just one crew, but all our whole crew, the people they call us their crew and we call them their crew. Because everybody knows that the Secretary General or the head, I'm not going to go in. Hezbollah used to write us letters over here in the 90s when we was over there. I had to tell them, y'all got to, I said, boss man, he see the logo, Hezbollah, and you sending it to us. I said, we love everybody. We have pictures. The thing is full of, the deputy leaders, and this stuff is going on a long time. I remember when they used to have programs and the leadership would be given a speech, and all the bodyguards and all those guys, when I walk in, they would be given, they're not supposed to do it, but they'd be giving me the okay sign and all that. Not the sign, but the okay look, and everybody would know it, And so it would be the big sheikhs, but all the people around them. And this is with leadership right now over in Afghanistan. Some of the so-called leaders that, it's a long story. But people know what we about. As-Sabiqun. That name carries a big historical. That's one of the deepest names that you could take out of the Quran. I'm not saying it's the deepest, but it's right along with it. Those are the ones that win the race. Those are the ones that smooth out the way and just take care of everything. When everybody else come along, they think that the road was smooth like that already. That's the way it was. It was built like that. They don't know. They may not have any idea about who smoothed it out, who made the road. They won't have no idea. And that her road goes direct to certain places and direct to others, and it don't go around and around that much. Okay, because see, As-Sabiqun don't care about that stuff. They don't care about that stuff. They don't care about getting a star by their name. You know, when you do good in school or somewhere, they put a star by. They put it all kind of. They don't care about that. They could care less. But the people that they dealing with think they do. That's one of the edges that you have, As-Sabiqun have on them. They judging by what people should do, and maybe during an earlier stage of transition to now, they may be 40 years behind, 50 years behind, because they don't deal much with growth and evolution. See, the reason we're here, the reason we're talking gangster talk about the most dreaded body in the world, the Zionist state, the Zionist entity, is the devil reincarnate. For today, it is the meanest, most exercising control over the world that the world has ever seen. This is Zionist state, because see, before there's no entity. If the shaitan is running things, he's just the local shaitan. In Peru, but nobody knew where Peru was because they was all over in Europe. All the little local shayateen here, nobody know America, they didn't know over there. And if you was a little shayateen in Sri Lanka, nobody would know about you because you were a local shaitan. Now there's a global shaitan. That's the Zionist state of Israel. Okay, now here we are. Everybody else, when you talk about care, when you talk about, remember the guys you was calling for us down in Texas?
Yeah, Muslim Legal Fund.
Muslim Legal Fund. Finally, when the guy called me, you know what he asked me? He said, he didn't hardly give me no time to talk. He said, I read about you in such and such. Is that true? I said, you read about me in that rag? I said, what they said about, I said, what about what I have something to say about them? You don't read what they say about me and then pick up, well, I got to go. I said, you got to go. I said, fine, get on then. Haven't heard from him since. But look, As-Sabiqun. What, when, where, how, and who. When people get started on this and they get to the first, what are we talking about? They pack up and say, I don't know if I want to go any further. It's what they do. I go so far as to say, everybody you know, and anybody else know, when they get started on this question and they hit the first one, what? Oh, my goodness. That's it, as far as they go. That's why there's been a systematic exclusion of our community on the board anywhere. Now, we'll be back on the board, don't worry about a thing. But it's when we get ready, and not when they get ready. And whatever they think, that's okay. Remember, I don't want to get to bragging. But the Zionists, everybody else that they're scared of, you know what you might as well call us? Call us something like Captain America. You know them superheroes? I'm telling you. And guess what color Captain America is now? Anybody seen lately? Captain America is a Negro. Captain America always was white. Now Captain America is a Negro. And Captain America went back and got a statue put down there, and, of course it's just TV, of the old Negro. He was old by then, what they had did a long time ago, nobody ever heard about it. And this guy was kind of mad. And Captain America went down and got him to put their story. So it's a statue of America, Captain America. And of those days, the Negroes, not the Captain Americas. In those days, Captain America was white. But that's lighthearted. But the stuff that we're doing is super heroic. It's super heroic. Hey, look. Why you think nobody wants any part of anything we do? None. I don't want no part of that. So you don't want no part? No, sir. Goodbye. Why is it that we were the most popular crew around, and all of a sudden we don't get no phone calls, we don't get no dates, no nothing? It's because we was not going to jump on any straw boss that they put up, or straw horses or something like that. Yeah. Straw man. We just beat on that. No. We went all of our history, and it started way back when. We used to have programs in the 80s. It had the South African flag. We called it the Triangle of Terror. But in those days, it was South Africa, it was the Zionist State of Israel, and it was the United States. All of them are settler colonial, right? And we used to have a flag and a chain going through each one of those flags. And people looked at it and they said, that's true. And now we have the same thing, but it just goes to, Saudi Arabia, right? United States of America, a Zionist State of Israel. Okay. The time in which we live in is an epic period. Epic is something, it is a great period in history. Okay, that's what makes it epic. First thing that makes it epic is this your time in history. You lived during that period. That's the first thing. You lived through that period, and ain't nobody else other than the people going along with you. You the only ones gonna make certain things manifest during that epic period. And okay, during this period, we chose to be As-Sabiqun. That means you go out front. No matter what everybody else do, you are As-Sabiqun. You go out front, those who show the way, those who lead the way. And it don't say nothing about everybody gonna follow. It means that in time, since you showed the way, since you led the way, since it's a Quranic reality, that eventually if people want to be successful during that era, they're going to have to follow that way. They don't have nothing else they can do. And there's other things now. Remember, we're not starstruck. As-Sabiqun is not working for good mention in a paper or bad mention or recognition. That ain't what it is. It don't have nothing to do with it. No matter what they think, it don't make no difference. Remember, because when you get at a certain stage in the West, we have certain heroes. We have Jack Johnson and Muhammad Ali, and that's been our crew. Because it talks about struggle. Those two guys were the most maligned black champions in history, and Jack Johnson was the most maligned. If you think Muhammad Ali was a maligned, Jack Johnson had a law passed, an act made specially for him, and he had And God was with him, because look at here. He tried to get a ticket on the Titanic, and they wouldn't let him on board. They would. This 1912 it sunk. He won a championship in 1910. He went over to Europe running around. He was going to come back on the Titanic. They wouldn't let him on. Thank God. You know what I mean? That's right. Okay. The time, the epic time. Our place in history, the only time you get a chance to make your mark is during your historical period. Okay. That don't mean that people will recognize the work you do. It may be a generation or two in the future that recognizes. But remember, recognition is not what you're after. Maybe 95, maybe 90, 95, 98% of the people want recognition for what they do. They want to be, we did this, we did that. And if they want their face on a coin or anything, that's not the reason they do things, but they won't be sad if they pop up on, something like that. So our place in history has to do with what we're doing now. It's not a place that everybody would want to be. It's not a place nobody would want to be. The job we got was, we're As-Sabiqun. We looked at what needs to be done, the Islamic movement, and that's what we do. We don't have nobody challenging us for leadership of the crazy house. Right? Nobody is challenging us to, you just half stepping, man. We're going to get out here and show you about these Zionists, man. You just have the head, you don't find nobody. Right? I don't care how much education they got. I don't care. Nobody. So you got to remember, though, if this is the case, that means we was bred and raised for this job. We the only ones that know. We know this job. We know this job. We know this has been coming all along. We know the time in which we're living in. Look at here. We have friends. All the people you read about. Bunchy Carter, George Jackson, Fleeta Drungo, the Solidarity, all of those people. They died, man. This is 50 years ago, almost 40 or 50 years. A lot of them died. 69, yeah, a lot of them died. It was 50-something years ago, 52 years ago. Some of them were killed right on campus at UCLA, the Black Panther Party, giving lectures up there to white kids at UCLA. You know, UCLA in 1969 was a white campus. Call it Lily White. It was Lily, because it's a good school too. It was Lily White. It wasn't because they got a Negro student body that want to hear about black power or nothing like that. And the Negroes and us, United Slaves of America and Ron Karenga and them, went up there and killed 4 brothers on campus. Yeah, and that's okay. I'm not saying it's okay because it's okay, but I'm saying that happened. Ain't nothing mashallah, it happened. Ain't nothing you can do about it. And all of that period, the period after that, and a little bit before that, because we were already leading the way. We was doing what Dr. King went to Chicago to do, to develop, not only black culture, but he went there to develop what we was doing in Oakland. We call it East Oakland enterprise, the Black Economic Zone. And we had it in Oakland. And Dr. King went to Chicago in 68. 68 is the exact time we all, a lot of things is happening at the same time. So they're talking about doing it in Chicago, and we're doing it in Oakland. What's so unique about Oakland? Why would the biggest, the most well-known black nationalist party develop in Oakland? And Oakland is 400,000 people. It's just the right size. Why did the Black Economic Zone develop in Oakland? It was just the right size. Chicago's a big place. New York is a big place. But Oakland, at that time, remember, time, place, circumstance, and all the things falling together, everything we did was exactly at the right time, exactly at the right place. LA is too big. LA is 457 square miles. Oakland is 60. Actually, it's 54 point something square miles because there's a little town right inside of it called Emeryville. Sometimes they count it with Oakland, sometimes they don't. Just the right size, right? Okay. That in a town that size, and everybody is mostly either first generation immigrants from the South, like us, like me. I was born in the South, right? There was some older people, most people born in California during the war. We have to tell you the truth how Oakland really, Black Oakland got started. You ever heard of Pullman Porters? Pullman Porters, the black guys, the porters that was sharp, that used to distribute newspapers. The Pullman Porters from the railroad. Okay. Y'all didn't realize the job the Pullman Porters did? You ever see on the movies of those porters that handle the baggage, they was all black? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. They was on the trains. The Pullman Porters, all of them took newspapers with them, all like the Chicago Defender and all that. They were the mouthpiece. See, the black newspapers, now you got to remember, you wasn't going to show up in Washington Post 100 years ago. You just wasn't. You couldn't get in there. There would be no reason for them to put you in there. So you would be all the black newspapers that's all going out of print over the last 40 years. If you go back 50 years ago, every city had black newspapers. Every city had black newspaper. Because that's how we got our message out. And our heroes were never the heroes on TV. Like now you see Beyonce on TV, Nick Grotius, right? You wasn't going to see, if you got lucky in 52, 53, you might have seen a program called Beulah. Y'all probably haven't heard of Beulah. Poor Beulah. Beulah was the same person that played Beulah was the same lady that won the Academy Award in 1939 in Gone with the Wind. Gone with the Wind, the big mammy, the big black mammy. Yeah. She was the first black person ever. She couldn't even come on the plane with the other white folks. Clark Gable and them, she made all of them look good. They may remember Clark Gable and all that, but they gonna all remember, everybody gonna remember Mammy. Because she was holding everybody up. You know what I mean? When you look at the movie, all the stars, she was intersecting with everybody. And she was the glue for everybody. She went back and forth between Red Butler, and then that other white lady, and this white lady, and that white lady, right? She was a glue. Anyway, so all the newspapers, I'll just go back to what happened. So all throughout the South, it's been a big migration up here to the north. And so, like the Chicago Defender and other papers, the Philadelphia Inquirer? I think it's Philadelphia. Those newspapers they had a national following. The Pullman porters would load up when they come through Chicago, or when those uh, when those brothers, they would pick up big loads of Chicago Defender, and they would be going north and south. But when they would go east and west too, they had routes. They might take bundles of papers to the next route. They might be going north and south. From Chicago, they might be going right up and down north and south. They may be going through St. Louis and then down into the south, right? But they would meet the people. They going east and then south. So if you come from Chicago over here, then we go down this whole coast. The Pullman Porters was a network. Okay, now, Oakland is right on San Francisco Bay. But you can't, before they built the bridge in 1936, no train could go across to San Francisco. So just like you have I-80 that goes across, I-80 goes across in the highway system, the even numbers go east and west, and the odd numbers go north and south. Like you have 95, then you have 85, right? Then you have 75, right? Then you have 65 going through Louisville and all that. Then you have all the odd numbers. 45 and 35 take you right down Kansas City, Texas, Houston and all that. 25 take you right up from Canada to New Mexico and all of that. And all, yeah, right. And 25 will take you right through Denver and all that, north and south. And east and west, 80. And then 90 going up. Chicago, you can catch 90 and all of that up there. And that will take you across to Seattle up there. You come down, then 80 take you right across the middle. Like when you leave here on 70 and you're going that way, you're going to catch, it's going to join in Pennsylvania. It's going to join with 80. And 80 going to take you the rest of the way. And so 80 goes from New York to San Francisco. But in the old days, there was no bridge. So the Pullman porters would stay in Oakland, a little place around the train station. And that's where Black Oakland developed. The Pullman porters would stay around there, as in West Oakland, around the train station. And pretty soon, they bought homes and everything. And pretty soon, when people wanted to come west, where should I go? Everybody went to where they got a relative. If one relative went to Oochie City, pretty soon everybody from his little town would go to Oochie City. Pretty soon everybody else around They'd come from wherever they went. So that's the way California was. That's where the term homeboy come from. You don't come from Mexicans, it come from black people. When you was out there, you would introduce, this is my homeboy. Both of y'all was from Mississippi or Arkansas. So you said, this is my homeboy. That means y'all from home, back home, you know. Anyway, the Pullman Porters were the newspaper line for black people. I mean, they would collect the black newspapers, especially the Chicago Defender, and was that the Philadelphia Inquirer? Philadelphia Inquirer. And they would take them. So if you wanted to learn about the Tuskegee Airmen, those was the papers where you would get the full thing. And the news up and down the South and all up and down the railroad line, it was all the porters took newspapers with them. And they distributed them along the way. They may leave them at a spot and, somebody waiting at the train station to get them, and they send their money up to Chicago Defender, when they sell. They're going to sell them all. And they send them up to that was a beautiful network of black people. It's a nostalgic period because we were a people then. Definitely we was a people. I mean, we had our own neighborhood, our own businesses. And what happened to one, we don't have nothing like that now. Not even close. It was, I'm not going to say wonderful, but in a way it was. We had our own important people. That's why I was so important, because we didn't, in Oakland, if I drove down the street, everybody would stop, because of the car and because of, there go Big Hank. And they would talk, man, I just saw Big Hank. That's all they would talk about. Now they talk about whoever's in the news, Beyonce and them and all. We didn't talk about them people. We didn't even know who they was. All we knew was so-and-so just drove down the street. Man, he made a turn over here. Then that little girl was riding with him. And that's what they talked about in every neighborhood in America up until the mid-'70s. Then we got, the junkyard man, and we got all this just pitiful. Who's the junk? Fred Sanford? Man, now I knew Red Fox and them Negroes snorted more cocaine than you could sell them. That's how they blew it. The bright lights we used to have, that was the old song, bright lights, big city, went to my baby's head. Bright lights, because you come from the country, there's no lights. Like America was dark. It was no lights like out in the woods. And you could see all the stars, just billions of stars. I'm going to get back to the subject. When I was in Africa and I saw the sky, you just want to drop your head down. Can you imagine? There are billions. Don't go on safari when you out in the way out there. It ain't no lights. And you look at the sky. I've never even seen anything like that over here. Never, never. I'm sure they're out there, but I've never seen them. You wouldn't believe it, the amount of stars that's up there. And I mean, they look like they're millions of miles from each other, but they look like they're bunched up on top of each other. I mean, the whole sky is full. Anyway, I'll get back to the, if I don't speed up, we'll be here for 4 hours. What, when, where, how, and who. The time in which we're living in is an epic time. Transfer of focus transfer of energy. Whatever you focus on, a lot of times that's where you're going to put your energy. That's why people do dumb stuff. I'll just pass through this quickly. They do dumb stuff, so we'll focus on the dumb stuff. That'd be insane. You focus on that, that's where you put your energy. We're not focusing. That's why I don't care what they do. We're not focusing on that. We're focusing on what we're doing. Okay. Our job is to have been to organize and to decomplicate everything that's happening. Decomplicate means that they done tried to sausage up everything and make it look big mystical thing. We just decomplicate it. What we said about CARE and the Texas crew has came true. Everybody knows it's true. So we're going to pass through that. The thing that we're going through is a historical process, and it is our contribution to the historical process. We're doing it in our special way. Today's Negro and his white masters first contact with committed long game, V-A-M-E, visionary Negroes, longevity, protracted Negro. Now this is what this means. Today's Negro and his white master, that means the people, the other Negroes. We are their first contact with committed long-range Negroes. We have to understand that. We are their first contact with committed long-range, protracted Negroes. Look at history. We always use King, 12 years, 56, 68, right? Malcolm X, 52, 65. That's not a protracted long range. But ours is. And we started off in the mix. If you were to say 66 to whatever this is now, was it 51, 50, something? More years than that. That 55 years or something like that? Because the trails I run in California, all of the white folks is up there walking their dogs. Now, this is real trail, not them. I mean, like in the hills. There's animals up there and everything. Sometimes you walking somewhere. Oh, I haven't seen you here before. How do you like it up here? That's all just fine. I've been coming here since 65. They wasn't born then, of course. And wasn't nobody going up in the hills in those days. Only the boxers. We used to go up there. George Foreman and them, Charlie Shipes and them, all the boxers from Oakland, they went up to those hills and did their road work. And I'd run with them. One of the state champion at that time was my best friend. So we'd do road work every morning. I was a weightlifter, and they was the boxers. So, physical fitness is not something everybody did then. Because technically, people didn't need as much physical fitness as they do now. People were smaller then. People were like, women weighed 135 pounds if they was big, 132. Yeah. You find a woman now weigh 132 pounds, you're a very lucky person. Most people girls be weighing 200 pounds, right? let's go a little further. 200 pounds. 250. Some weigh 300 pounds. Only Roosevelt Greer, the football player, he weighed 300 pounds. There's nobody else weighed 300 pounds in those days. Nobody weighed that. I tell you what, Dolly Dimples, the fat lady of the circus, weighed 401 pounds. Now they got a program, I don't watch it, but they said they got a program of some fat people that they got to lift up on cranes and put them. You ever see it? You ever heard of it? Yeah, they lift them up on cranes and they can't move. Can you imagine? They have they told me, I don't believe it, but what almost to help they can't move.
Oh, okay. I thought y'all bringing the machines.
There's people I heard they said, I know they lying, that weigh 1,100 pounds. I know.
No way. That can't be humanly possible. It is.
They got people. I think they was lying. 700 pounds is a skinny people. Dolly Dimples, the fat lady of the circus. If you wanted to see a lady weigh 400 pounds, you had to go to the circus. Dolly Dimples was what they called her. Anyway, things are different now. People were smaller. People worked and walked, and people didn't eat meals all the time. You ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner, if you was lucky, and you walked everywhere you went. You walked everywhere, and you didn't have labor-saving devices. At least black people didn't. Nobody did. They just didn't have them. So you did your own work. Okay. The things that we're going through, today's Negro and his white masters, this is the first contact with committed long-range people. Okay, now what is committed? That means we're committed and we're not working for the short range. Everything we talk about is protracted. Just imagine the things that we talked about the way the movement was going to move. The date was 4/16, 2011. That was 10 years ago. Won't be no Arab Spring. You know, when we were saying that talk, there will be no Arab Spring. You know, when that was 10 years ago. A little over, that was 10 and a half years. There will be no Arab Spring. You might as well stop. And we was not saying it with a question mark, like, I don't think it's going to be no, we didn't say it. Did we mention it like that? We said there will be no Arab Spring. And then we told them about the steps. And those steps came out. That's why, look, you got to imagine the trip that Boss Man them on. That wasn't the first time. If something happened in Lebanon, we said it ain't no tragedy. We called it Bashiru. That's good news. Since we're talking about that, look at Lebanon right now. Just today, we were saying that we put off our program for yesterday and we put it off for the day before. Look what's happened in between. We're always waiting for, we mentioned this before, we're waiting for the outcome of something. It's not that we're lazy and we're tired, you know what I mean? But look what's happened in the last 2 days in Lebanon. Okay, first of all, in this period, Lebanon was in a total cutoff, and Iran sent ships with their first loads, it was 92 trucks loads of fuel for Lebanon. Now they got other ships. I don't know. They either on the way or they there already, some of them. Same thing for Venezuela. Venezuela, on this side, the biggest oil producer, one of the biggest oil producers in the world, and rich. When I lived in South America, I used to live in Venezuela for a while. Venezuela and Colombia is like being in America and Venezuela was rich. Venezuela, if the two best passports in South America was a Venezuelan passport and was it either Brazilian or Argentinian passport. They was big in South America. But the best one was a Venezuelan passport because Venezuela was rich from oil. But then they put the boycott and the freeze on it. But Iran sent them stuff and sending them more. So in Lebanon, yesterday, we'll call it yesterday, for over here, I was listening to it all last night and this morning. One of the Christian organizations had assassins firing and killing people. I mean, here's the people. Now, two groups. Group number 2 is great. Group number 1 was Hezbollah. They knew that the demonstrators against the establishment would be Muslims and mostly Shia. So they had assassins, snipers, shooting them point blank in the head. No, they said, the Muslims said, no. We're not going to open up the way for no sectarianism. So they stayed cool. Those things that the Muslims are doing around the world is phenomenal. And all of it is our team. And everybody knows that. It ain't nobody else's team doing nothing but collaborating with the Zionists. All of their team then signed up on the Zionist ticket. Arab number 1, Arab number 2, right? None of us. And all of them are surviving. Nobody is dropping the ball, and they look. When you talk about epic periods, this is it. And Saudi Arabia is still good at breaking everything up, and Iran comes right along and sweep it up. In Lebanon, everybody know that the U.S. put a freeze on Lebanon, right? Everybody else also knows that the bombs that went off at the warehouse, they was trying to put it on Hezbollah. Everybody is now looking at the Zionists. Whether they had it stored there or not, that's not the point. The point is that it blew up. Who knew exactly how much heat to put on it to blow it up? And it blew up many city blocks. But you look at, it'll make you proud. Right now today, Iran said we'll build 2 generators or something. They said that today. The Iranian minister was there, and he was laying out what we're willing to do, we're happy to do. The Uncle Toms, the Americans was there the other day at the U.S. Embassy, and they said they're the ones that got all this stuff started. What they have done is they've handed everything handed it, packaged it up and handed it to Hezbollah, handed it to Iran, just handed it to them. Not just for this Christian group, Phalange or whoever it was assassinating people, the Lebanese army and everybody, which is all kind of people. It don't settle with nobody. The ones trying to prevent Iran from helping, they saying there's no electricity right now. Is right? There's no electricity. So when it gets dark, it's finished for you. Except few people have generators. If they got generators, they ain't got no fuel to put in. Well, they do now. Look. Everything is being handed to our people on a platter. Don't get me wrong, they suffering bad. The hassles we go through here, it's almost laughable. And that's why we laugh at it. That's why we laugh at it. The boss man is a dummy. Boss man helpers is even bigger dummies than he is. Okay. So right now, they's having a demonstration against the government or what have you. The judge, that's right, the judge. That's why they was going down to the court. The Uncle Tom judge. You don't have to worry about anything now. Everything is on the surface. Everything is on the surface. They have handed all of Lebanon. See, because first, Hezbollah been on the team. Hezbollah been on the roll. I mean, they've been on the roll. But Hezbollah had the fuel brought in and turned it over to people. They didn't say, Hezbollah, they're going to get some, they're going to do that. That means these people are for all of us. And they against the Zionists. Look at here. When they assassinated a few people yesterday, Amal Nababeri, they predate Hezbollah. Amal, they predate. It's a Shia organization. But anyway, they're not as tough and not as nice as Hezbollah. Hezbollah is doing everything by a wonderful script. Self-sacrificing. We here to help y'all. Of course, we got the most power. We're not saying it. We're the most organized, but we're here to help Lebanon. They've already won the hearts. They've won the hearts of the people. So no matter what happened, in Iran is not a perfect country, but Iran right now, especially since they got out the handkerchief-headed people, they clockworking. The new foreign minister, he was a protege of Soleimani. That guy, he would call Soleimani during a certain time and, can I come along? Come on. Hey, if you look at Yemen is holding up. I don't know how, but they holding up. And they ain't even thinking about we ready to quit, surrender, peace treaty. They said, oh, no. And they're gaining big position. So we don't have to worry. That's the way it's going. Syria, Lebanon used to be a part of Syria before Sykes-Picot. It was, Sham. Syria was all what they call Lebanon and Syria now. So now, that's why Syria and Lebanon, everybody looked the same. You could tell Lebanese and some Palestinians and Syrians, like if you look at Bashir Assad, he could almost be a European or Italian or something like that, big, tall, Italian-looking guy, right? Or European. That's the way they look. Syrians don't look like darkish type Arabs down, right? All of those people. The United States and the Zionists, as mean as they are, has helped solidify. They're handing power, and they won't quit. We gave the same lecture a couple of years ago, maybe a few years ago, that Saudi Arabia is good at breaking things, right? And our home folks come along and sweep it all up. Iran comes and sweep it up. Big plane landed 2 days ago. Where? In Afghanistan. With goods and services from Iran. I want you to look at what's happening right now. The U.S. run off from from Afghanistan, hoping that they leave all these weapons behind, and It's not the way it's going to happen. Watch in the long run. In the long run, all those modern weapons are going to be over with our home folks. Yeah, they're going to be with our home folks. They left them there for them. And then they're going to duplicate all of them. And just like they duplicated drones years ago, and now they're number 4 in drones in the world. And moving up, okay. Our people are suffering a lot, but they on a roll. And everything that they do, it is though, along with your suffering, you're going to do this big barrel of suffering, but we're going to give you a super big barrel of blessings. Everybody's like that. Whether it's Hezbollah in Lebanon, whether it's Syria, whether it's Iraq. Now remember, all of those places will have to be rebuilt. Have anybody been keeping up with technology in Iran and watching how the technology is? They have a program, I forget what it's called. But they show business and they show all of that and they show all the new stuff they got in Iran. They are on a rocket ship. They on a rocket ship. Okay. Saudi Arabia, all those other countries, they showing they behind. They signing up with boss man. Nobody has to. We used to go out years ago. They working with America. They working with the Zionist and da. But the Palestinians said it a long time ago. I heard it over 30 years ago. He said, but there's a tribe. They're the Zionist. That's the Jewish tribe. Ali Saud. That's what they say. The Palestinians say it. I don't hear nobody else say it. So whatever it is, we're living in we're viewing the transition. And this transition is not something that we've been, let me back up. We have been saying this and a part of this for decades, and we've been talking like this. It ain't nothing different. I'm not saying anything different than what we've been saying all along. But it starts with the foundation and it's building up higher and higher. So everything we've been talking about is now an expression that everybody can see. And remember, like they used to have those saying, I'm going to go all the way through. Well, we're here. We're going through right on. We're not buckling. We're not blinking. Now you have to pay attention to where we're coming from and what we look like. We're not blinking at all with boss man. We're not saying, "Oh, boss man, we're getting a little tired." We ain't saying nothing like that. We're saying, "Boss man, you better get on board with us, because pretty soon it's gonna be late." That's what we're saying, and that's what we mean. And you know what? That is exactly what's happening. It's exactly what's happening. It's been happening. Okay? So the long game with visionary Negroes, longevity and protracted Negroes. All of those things, when we studied rebellion, revolution, we picked out parts that would fit us. So when we studied Chairman Mao and all of that, one of his things was protracted. But his protracted, we would call it medium range protracted. 20s, 30s, and 40s. Our protracted, we're already in the 50th, up in the 50 years of our and far as the Islamic movement, we're well over 40 years of specific protracted. And since 1986, we showed y'all a thing when they stole our accordion folders and they stole all that, we said big victory. Big victory, that's 1986. Good God Almighty, what is that, 35 years ago or something? 35 years ago. So when we talk about protracted, we have to really mean it. And you have to have patience to carry it all along that way. But what does it do? Boss man, he used to hitting people and knocking them out. He can't carry a fight that long. That's why boss man is getting confused and everything. And we're confusing him. That's why we having to make up all these phony things about boss man, because they're true. We're making them true. Because we used a term about George Foreman before. Remember George Foreman he's so tough, he was used to knocking everybody out, man. He'd never went over five rounds. Right? So Muhammad Ali tussled around at him. When he got up to 5 rounds, he started talking to George. You know, all that rope-a-dope stuff? Look at 6th and 7th round. He was just doing like this, like washing clothes. Just think about it. Muhammad Ali already knew he had him then. But he waited till he really had him. When he come out in round number 8, I think it was just all over. It was like he had fought him, punched himself out. Boss man punched himself out a long time ago. Boss man punched himself out, but he didn't know. And the more he listened to the Zionists, the more he got punched out. If boss man had any sense, he would have quit in Korea. He would have quit, especially Vietnam. He didn't. He came back, and for the Zionists, he went in to first they encouraged the Gulf War, 1980 to 1988, between Iran and Iraq War, we call that. But 91 was for the U.S. to gain they beat Saddam so bad that we broke the Vietnam syndrome. You remember them? They were just blasted away. That's okay. That's okay. That's fine. You know what he needed? He needed that. He needed a strip of arrogance. So what he did, the Russians got run out of Afghanistan, and it just, and they know better. Why did they go in Afghanistan? That was 20 years ago. Why would they do that? They went in there, and at first they just straightened everything out, killed everybody, blew everything up. And then said, fine, weapons of mass destruction. We didn't kick these jokers behind. Let's go on in here. There. And they went in and they wrapped up Iraq. That's why we get a chance to rebuild with 21st century technology. We're not going to build them old brick, same stuff, earthquake prone. How? No, why should we? So we can rebuild Iraq. We can rebuild Syria. We can rebuild Lebanon. We could put the latest in water projects everywhere. We can do agriculture like they're doing it in Iran. We can share water. We can do all of that. Because we got specialists now that study all of that. But at the meantime, look what happened. Boss man destroyed Iraq. And they have destroyed a lot of the infrastructure. Look at it, the hospitals, everything in Yemen. Those are very bad things that they're doing. But it gives us, since it's destroyed, we got to rebuild. So let's do our research and rebuild it in the best way with the best available resources that we have, material and everything. And we don't have to have walls this thick and no more. We can reinforce them and have them just whatever we want to do, right? It's up to us, right? We can rebuild everything now that takes full advantage. In fact, we can solar energy everything. You got to think about it. Iran starts to build solar energy, then they transfer the technology over to Iraq, and then to every other, to Syria. So all your rebuilding, even if it's with Chinese help. Yeah, sure, no problem. Going along with this, we believe there's going to have to be some process of tazkiyah with China and Russia. With China and Russia. And if they don't do it, we'll just get the physical benefits and what have you, and then they'll go down right after Boss Man. Because this is talking about new world order, this is a new period. Okay, let me try to speed up a little bit. Look like it's getting dark. So we train for this special mission. We call it Deep Soul. This is how it's done. What we're doing right now, this is how it's done. For America, everybody is bootlicking and scared, right? And it'll come a time when these will not be isolated and cut off, but they'll be the most popular videos in the United States. We'll wait till that time, and that's what they're going to be. Nothing they can do about it, but it'll show that we've been where we are all along, and the way the world is going, that world that they hope for is not real, right? If they were getting all their money, a lot of their help from Saudi Arabia and from them other places, those people have turned strictly into Zionist puppets against the poor Palestinians. Who's the only one? It's Hezbollah and it's Iran. Working, ceaselessly for Palestinians. And the people of Yemen are celebrating, as bad as they got it, they still got enough nerve to stand up for the brothers in Palestine. That is the ethics and morals that's needed And everybody on our team is showing big time, don't mean they perfect, but everybody on our team, or we're on their team, right, is showing high standard of morals and ethics. And everybody is walking by and handing them or mailing them in the mail, sending them strength. And I'm telling you, that's because, see, at certain times, doing what's right gets you favor with Allah and the believers. And sometimes doing what's right gets that too. And it also is the right time in history. Yeah. What's happening right now is a big deal. It's a big deal. If we was thinking about what we would have liked to have seen 40 years ago, this is a dream. Well, we have a strategic alliance. You got to remember, we was holding on with Iran when it wasn't nobody. Well, Syria was they was just not against it, but now we got that whole string. And let's remember, everybody's watching. It's not big brain scrubbing issues now. Everybody can see. Okay. But I'll be brief with this. What we want to do is get everybody involved. Remember we talked about blockade running. We talked about all of that. The food, we got to get the other Arab. It looks like if Iran has to handle it by itself, it looks like it's doing a good job. I don't know where in the world. And now the dummies, you talking about blessing. Britain messed up. They did it on purpose. They Brexit stuff, and they can't get no. And Germany and everybody is. Guess what? The oil prices is going through the roof, right? Now, do you think if you can get oil $10 cheaper, and that's a whole shipload, that's millions of dollars, right? You're gonna buy it. And you got good oil too, good quality oil. And Venezuela got good oil, good sweet oil. The only people got better is Libya. Yeah. Who are they going to take? You can see. Can you see how Allah is arranging all of this stuff? There's no central Islamic headquarters that have authority to put all of this package together. But everybody is doing what it appears to be right, and everybody that's wrong is being put out. So the same people that was causing us trouble, you know what I mean? I mean, our allies right here, out of the Iranians, it's different now. Remember, I said over 40 years ago, I went and I spent time in Iran. I spent time in Iran. And one of my best friends was one of the best brothers who was older. He died from, I didn't even know he had, from poison gas. Because when we was at a big demonstration, it wasn't a demonstration. You know when they got the flags waving and they got people goose-stepping and walking up. Well, I used to be at those type of things, and I would be the main speaker to the Army, because my friends was colonels, and the colonel pretty is up there. So I told them, this is what's happening with your homeboys. And I had a couple of people come that I have never seen since and didn't know who they was then. But as I was explaining it to our brother, he was translating it to them. in everything that happens right now, it looks like that somebody got the message. We were saying stuff about a meeting that was going on in Russia, and we had a program right here, and I said, da 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 da, right? And the next day, something happened. The next day, something happened. And then Allah make people do dumb stuff if they dumb, right? And my so-called friend, when the white folks came over and they was going to Syria, what did they do? They say, you like Medea Benjamin them, you stay here with them. He was mad as he could be. Remember that? Syria, and we're going to talk about rebellion and stuff. We don't want you here. See, these dummies think that you cannot set stuff up once and then you don't have to touch it anymore. It takes a life of its own, right? I already know we got a protection hovering around. This stuff that go on, it ain't possible. I don't care what anybody say. I already know. You know, of course, I believe it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but Allah have Negroes, angels, and Arabs, and everybody else doing stuff. And then, how more accurate could we be on Boss Man? That's enough. The accuracy about what we talk about, good God Almighty. That's enough. Okay, I'm going to speed up. I'm going to stay on the battle phase. I talked about Fleeta, George, bunch of cars. So we could ask the question, why me? But we won't go into that. Africa, big Negro, wealth, East Oakland Enterprise. Well, we showed where we was coming from way back, and we done stayed on the trail when there was a core of black nationalism and black wealth acquisition. We was right there in the front row doing it, and we did it in Oakland, just the right size, just the amount, everything was fine. Okay, so we have here a semi-clown which says those Negroes. It's talking about Abdul Malik, Mukhtar, Hashim. Abdul Jalil used to live right next door. That boy is really something. The brothers, do you remember the brothers when the brothers would say, please kick him out from being I mean, I had him in charge of physical fitness and security. He was the less secure man. He used to lie so bad. Yeah, you tell him anything. I used to do this and that. I used to box. I said, shoot, that ain't nothing. I said, I won a championship when I was 14 years old. And da 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 da. He was lying. I would just lie right along with him, and just I wouldn't even bat an eye. I said, this nigga's lying. You know what I mean? And the old boy to sit here and eat up everything during Ramadan, this is his best friend. I don't know why he keep coming, but he come and he takes a plate. Boy, I'm telling you, or several plates. Whatever you give him, he's going to eat it. You're not going to, don't have to worry. He's going to eat it. I know he had a U-Haul over there at the house and he owed money. I said, you ain't going to sneak out of here tonight, are you? No, no, no. You know, what's the name was with him? They loaded up and they snuck on out. I didn't jump. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, so why me? Why is this easy? Why do we feel fortunate, lucky? Sometimes the training, what's them guys, them SEALs and all that, the training they do is harder than probably anything they're going to do, you know what I mean, in a real fight. I mean, they're not going to have to do no 100 pull-ups on one finger. I mean, they have not that, but they do stuff like that. They have to stay under the water 2 or 3 minutes. Now the record is way up around 4 minutes or something like that. But they do all of that stuff. You're not gonna get in a battle where you usually have to do the training. So the training, that's why we cruise through on this, because the training that we've been through was harder than the fight. The fight we going through is what you watch. It's just, we take it like it is. Nothing. And then old dumb white man trying to scare you, that's boss man, you got to get a new game. You making a nigga laugh. I swear to that. If you want to get me, you keep on doing that, and I'm going to laugh myself out to death. The best way to get rid of me is just do more of what you're doing, and you might get me laughing. I just might every time I sit up, I just start laughing. That's the only way they're going to do it, because ain't nothing that's working. I might laugh myself to death. I mean, to where it's already hurting. Okay, we're going to speed up. We're clowning Negroes. Okay. The long range and the short range, they just wasn't. We're in the championship rounds now. And boss man never had to mess with nobody that did any rounds. He knocked everybody out in the first round. I don't know anybody who went over 2 rounds with him. And here we are, we up in the 300th, the 400th, the 500th round. We said in our paperwork, y'all probably saw it, we trained at that time, that was years ago, that was almost 10 years ago. We trained for 500 rounds already. So that's why you never see us all depressed, tired. And if we are tired, we're resting because that's what we're supposed to do. It don't make no difference what boss man think. I did this, I put stuff in his coffee and put him to sleep. Good. You know how I look at that? If you put stuff to put me to sleep, you say you resting me up. No, he's resting me up. That's what he's doing. He's resting me up. Because remember, long range. I'm alive now. All of my friends are dead. They're all dead. And I'm talking about another 25 years. So, boss man don't have to know what he's doing. Allah is saying, well, go and give him some of this here. It'll calm him down, it'll cool him down, and he'll take it easy. He's getting plenty. So finally, I'm going to get the right exercise, the right snooze. And, it's unbelievable. It's wonderful. See, look, I have thicker confidence. I have confidence that Allah is God. Muhammad is his messenger, and Islam Medina. So I actually believe that. If you believe it, whether it's true or not, if you believe certain things, you're going to act according to what you believe in, right? And if you believe in it hard enough, you may be able to even put something into effect that's not even true. White folks believe in white supremacy, right? And they put it into effect. because Allah wanted them to put it into effect at that time. We believe, can you imagine that there is a being that put all of this stuff together? I mean, the whole universe, that we don't know how much of it is, and it all works in perfect harmony together. Hey, man, there's people say it's an accident or evolution. Nigga come out of a frog and the frog turn into something other, and they can say all they want. It would take a zillion years for that to happen. A zillion years. One person said, how long would it take a monkey in a room to type out the Declaration of Independence without no mistakes? Right? He would be, that's their theory, like that this is all accidental. So a monkey just run and get all over. It would never happen. He would never type out anything coherent, especially things that need sentences that fit and all, and it has to be a special thing. Couldn't do it. Everything here fits. Everything fits. Everything fits. Everything reproduces its own. So anyway, that's who we hooked up with. And we believe that that being is watching over us. We actually believe that. And I personally believe that everything I went through in Jahiliyyah was for this. And each step of the way, it was a trial. All of it, everything that you have, all the money, all the ladies, everything that runs everybody else crazy, all the fame and all of that, right? And then all the wealth, and every time you got owed the wealth, it was giving it away, even up to the day. When we have money to school, we gave $500,000 we put in. You could have seen it, right? School was there for 10 years. We had to pay heating. You know how long, that big old thing out there all day long, right? And not only that, but if the kids needed to go on a field trip, well, they would go. They would say, they don't have the teachers. They don't have the money, so they can't go. I said, hell, take them on. How you going to set somebody back here and everybody else going over there? And everybody know that he ain't got no money. I said, we don't do that at this school here. They had to stop me. The meals we cook. I used to cook it. I don't know if you remember. I used to cook it for everybody, every day. And the kids wanted crap like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. They did. But the teachers, they'd be sitting in the cut waiting. As soon as they go through, you know what I mean? And anyway, so they said, might as well stop doing that for them. So they started having pizza on Thursday. And I said, boy, these poor children. I said, if you want to feed them that crap, you can. It's okay with me. My hands are tied. Anyway, let me speed up. So the training is harder than the fight. Well, I try to skip over some of this, but when I used to run marathons, I couldn't run fast as fast as nobody else, but I could run further. I'd do the distance. And I was lighter than now. I weighed about 198, something like that. Now, what I was doing was I could carry a lot of stuff with me. I was that big, so I was carrying a lot of liquid, and then before we'd have a marathon, I'd do carbohydrate loading. You know what I mean? Like eat a lot of pasta, stuff like that. First, you starve yourself, and then you eat a lot of pasta or carbohydrates. You don't have no carbohydrates in you. But before the race, the day before the race, you fill up on spaghetti and all that. That's carbs. That's energy. So 26 miles wasn't nothing for me. But I wouldn't run with no crew because you'd have people bunching up that's running a certain speed. Then people go zoop. I wouldn't run with them because they'd burn you up. They would burn me up because I couldn't run as fast as they're cruising, but I had a good pace. And that's what you learn, that, hey, maybe you're a distance. Maybe you're a distance runner instead of a speed runner. So I'd run a 3-hour marathon. I couldn't run no 2-hour and something marathon. I couldn't do it. I'd just die. But I'd run a good 3-hour marathon all the time, standard. Short distance, under 4 or 5 rounds. I mentioned that. That's what Boss Man is used to, short distances. He used to fight. He's so big and so well organized that he just knocks niggas out because nobody, you know what I mean? Nobody would have any training in nothing. In revolution, he'd send in girls, and girls would knock him out. Just knock him out, get him fighting, laughing and talking. And he did all that stuff with me, too. He did all that stuff. But alhamdulillah, I just became Muslim. When I became Muslim, all that stuff that they used on it, they couldn't use it on me. I don't know nan Negro with no 15 years of celibacy under his belt. Because I do this work. This is important. They don't do it. They don't do that type of thing. And they thought it was hard. I said, it ain't hard. I already know what I can do. I ain't no big deal. So, Boss Man is short-winded, and now he's getting a butt kicking. And he done picked up weight too, good God Almighty. He picked up all that weight. He ain't lean. They ain't walking across covered wagons, walking across the country no more. No, the white folks, they get on them wagons and walk across. They can't walk down the street. They can't do it. Somebody told me, I know, but I read it and heard it too. The military can't recruit people, right? Can you imagine? The people is too fat and too doped up.
That too, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's all the American things. And then when they do go over there, they come back and they realize this is not a video game, and I've been killing real people. And then when I get back, they say you can't do this and you can't do that, and they kill themselves. This is so every sign of a civilization in decline is here. You see what I mean? Every one of them. They haven't missed nothing. And they did it themselves. Okay, let me.
Scatterbrain. I was watching a doctoral lecture on. It was basically it was on Hitler, and one of the comments was made about the British when they were coming back. They had scattered brains and broken bones, and that's basically what that's what we had. Scattered brains, and they were talking about basically the
Dear believers, I got too much. I'm just still at the top of I can't, it's prayer time. So I'm going to wrap up. What I'll do is just do a condensed form and religiousise this for tomorrow's Juma. That's what I'll do. And finish it up Sunday. By the way, before I forget, Sunday they're going to have the Nigerians are going to have a program, right? And we could drop by we could make sure Saturday that everything is cleaned up and we'll get some incense and stuff like that. And they talking about the Imam is in the military, which is wonderful. And there's nothing new. It's just like California. There's nothing new. So look, whatever anybody think, our community is blessed. It's really blessed. When we go back to California, don't worry about what they have done or are doing. That's not a problem. It's not a problem. No matter what it is, that's a one done deal. Whether it's one way or another, whether we win zillions of dollars in court, whether we tell the story and make our own series out of it, whether we write books or articles, like we remember, we already have a 3-volume book that's already written from our As-Sabiqun. It's actually in book form. We've been at it for 10 years in book form. We got to just take it to the printer. It's on one of them jump drive things, and it's already, and I got them, the things that you stick in the side of the computer? Oh, yeah, external hard drive, yeah. Yeah, all that, we could just stick it in the thing and it'll print out, or we could take it to the printer and let them do it. That stuff is done. But we didn't want to put it out. But we're also doing our second stage of Sabiquns, really modern and up to date. Okay? We call this period deep roots. Deep soul is what we call it. Staying power. 95% of ability is stickability. Stickability, the ability to stick, the ability to hold on. We do all type, we coon the white man. We talked about it last week, about moseying alone. Just moseying alone. And evidently everything we do is working. Well, not everything. The things that should work is working, that we do, and it's working very well. The things that they do are not working at all. They are the laughing stock of the world. And remember, we're claiming a big share of that because we said it a long time ago. Boss man gonna go and we're gonna stick ourselves right out there. Yeah, boss man. It makes it worse for them. We told you ought to do right, and I told you ought to do da 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 da. And now look at you. That's high side and selling wolf tickets, and that's what we do. That's what we do. That's what we've been doing, and we're gonna improve on that. But remember, the Chinese had socialism with Chinese characteristics, right? We have Islam with coon characteristics, Negro characteristics. That's what we're doing. We sound like it. I hope we look like it. And that's what we're doing. It is the last. Look, make fun of the white man, and not only the white man, but the Zionist. Everybody fears the Zionists. We don't fear them. The Zionists, you talk about people that don't mess with us, this is Zionist. And they said, you could see it. If you can remember it, the Zionists used to come out and they used to hit at us and we'd hit back at them and just make fun of them. That's why you don't see nothing anymore. If it is, it's playing. They used to come to our demonstrations and hide their camera. Then you see me stand up there talking, then I'd tell them this and I'd tell them that. They say, you have to leave that nigga alone. Why? Because he ain't scared of us. We don't have nothing to scare him with. We don't have nothing to offer him because he don't want nothing. He sleeps down there on the floor and the water comes in when it's raining. So what? I mean, the floor. So what? Keeps you close to reality. See what I mean? So when you don't want nothing that they got, it ain't no problem because you don't even want it. You see what I mean? Or Allah done gave you so much of it, you know what it is and what it's not. And you know how you are now and how it was then. So you already know in your own mind and heart what these things are. You're not, so if you get a bucket full of money, it's just a bucket full of money. It's to use for other people. If it's $1 million, I don't need but $40 or $50 of it. Or 100 or two or something like that. But I don't need all that because I wouldn't buy those things if we could. You see what I mean? That means, number one, and I'll close with this, one of the dangerous things I left behind for men is women, right? That's hadith. Clear? Okay. The other thing is that as man get older, he wants more and more wealth. This is a hadith too. And the guy in Oakland asked me, when you get older, do you want more material? I said, no, I want less. He said, I done studied my father and he wants more, a Palestinian. And I could have told him, yeah, I know your daddy. Hell, excuse me. I know your daddy. Sure, of course he's going to want more. If he's got a liquor store here in Oakland, and if he takes Jamaat Tabligh out, and he had a brand new Lincoln at that time, and they might scratch something, boy, he'd be burning up mad. You know. Yeah, I mean, because for them, the more, those hadith are true. The older you get, the more you want some of that, like when one guy was dying and Umar was coming to see him, and every time he was laying there, he was looking at the pillow. When he finally died, Umar went and looked behind the pillow, and it was a sack of gold, wasn't it? He said, oh, man. He felt sorry for the guy. Yeah. Because that's all, when he's laying there about ready to die, or maybe it'd take you 2 weeks to die, or whatever it did in those days. You didn't just up and die. Dying sometime. Now they got a place in the house called the living room. They used to call it the dying room, but it didn't sound right. No, when you died, you didn't just drop dead. All your stuff catch up with you, and you just lay there, and you just laying in the dying room. And so now maybe it was 100 years ago or more, they changed it to living room instead of dying room. But that's where they would put you in the room, and you just lay there, all the stuff catching up with you. And it catch up with you, your heart be salty, all that stuff. Dying wasn't no joke like it is now. They keep you alive up till you got to go, and then, they either pull the plug or if you hurting, they give you something to stop the hurt, But dying used to be miserable. We died just like horses. I don't know if y'all ever seen a horse when it dies. It has a big semicircle where it's always just doing like this. Yeah, if you ever seen, yeah, horses and mules. Well, I'm from the country, so we always had them dying, and that's the kicking, the last kick. That's what it come from. So they don't just die the horse riding, going on and just drop dead. No, all this stuff catch up, and they used to call it low sick. So and so is low sick. Anyway, uh, I like to just comment on. Uh, we're happy with all our allies. All our allies, they doing an admirable job, and we with them. And we're not doing too bad here. Most people would rather have their job than ours. Like one of the commenters said in Iran that used to be here. He's head of one of the big news, something like that. He said, Imam Musa is in the United States and we're over here. He used to be over here, so he knew what it meant. You know what I mean? That we're saying what we're saying inside the United States. So, I didn't mean to take us all this time. Are there any questions or comments about anything that we have said?
Brother said, Brother Imam, in reading the learned elders of Zion, your teaching exposes their plans very clearly. I hope your listeners will clearly see how much influence Zion has in this country. I guess that's a book.
Yeah, the Learned of Zion, Protocols of Zion, yeah. Henry Ford liked it. One of the great speakers here was a friend of mine. Was a Swiss journalist. He sounded like a German. He was a good friend of mine. And when he came here, they brought him here to speak over in Virginia, and we spoke on many programs. He's married to an Egyptian woman, and they had a son, and his son was a journalist also. This was a long time. His son was, I don't know, I guess I got the face that people like to talk to. So in Europe at that time, he was not in with anybody. He was curly headed, and he was very nice looking, but he was curly headed, and he was too light to be black and not light enough to be white. So he felt out of place, and he would tell, all the big shots would tell me that, like I'd get my thing, and everybody just start crying, let me know what the problem is. They did that. I don't know. Maybe that's the way I seem, and I always did the best I could. But when he told me what was happening, I said, "Oh man, that ain't nothing." I say, "You just high yellow." He said, "High yellow." I said, "Yeah. If you was over there with us, you would be right there with us. You'd be just high yellow." So he ran and he told his father, "Baba, I'm high yellow." I guess the man thought, "What did that nigga tell you?" He had no idea what I was. But both of them was big journalists. But anyway, I guess this guy, he's on up there now. Shoot, man, he must be a good 60 years old. But that was his problem. Now, they talked about Zionist, protocols of Zionist. The brother told me about the book. We all had it. Uh, he said that book was written by a Russian agent. It said that there was a lot of people in the 1800s, late 1800s, they would go to the Russian freedom fighters would go to Paris and all of that place. And so this Russian agent under the Tsar studied all the people. And he realized that there was a lot of Jews with him and da, 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 da. So what he did is he wrote, this is what's the name? Everybody's kind of agree with it. He wrote the protocols of Zion off of the basic truths that they had been able to glean throughout history. And when you read it, you would think it was true. Yeah, you would think it was true, but it's manufactured. It was written by a Russian, according to my best sources, it was written by and it must be true because the Zionists want you to have that book so they can challenge you on it, that book. Yeah. In fact, not to change the subject, but that was a program in Indiana. And the brothers had invited me, and I went there with when Sister Bahia and I first got, this was back in maybe 1990 or something. So when we had the program, I think we were the only black people there. So the rest of the people was foreigners. And then the Zionists was coming to harass them because the program was about Zionism or something like that. And I took my books, I used to have all them books, and I had the Protocols of Zion and all them other books against Zionists that I don't carry anymore. They're over in the library just packed up. So anyway, this is a place where the Zionists, they was laughing a lot because the speakers were, just imagine in those days, the immigrant Pakistanis speaking with a strong Pakistani accent. And we have our programs, and the babies at 2, 3 years old, they can get up and walk up on the stage and do all that. So these guys was laughing at that. So, and they was being really funny. They'd have chicken feathers on, like when you tar and feather somebody, how they look. These Zionists was really, they was making fun of the Muslims. So I said, yeah, okay, fine. So then I spoke, and then they came up. I tell you what, it was Pakistanis, it was Malays. It was at the university, not Carbondale, but right below Chicago. It was one of right below Chicago. I think it was in Illinois and not Indiana. It was in Illinois. If I could think of that university. It's right below Chicago. I'll think of it in a minute. Anyway, a lot of Malaysians there and all that. And they're all just immigrants. That's normal for them. So anyway, the Zionists came up to my table and started talking crazy. I told Sister Bahia, you stand back there and just get behind me and watch. Of course, I was younger then, of course. So them Zionists started playing, what is this book here? I said, yeah, okay. So I stepped in between them Zionists and I just said, bam, bam. Then I took 1 foot back, and there's 4 of them. Bam. By the time I got to the other one, he broke out. So I busted up 3 of them right away. You know, because I used to box a little bit then. So then they called the police. And the police was taking down. Well, what happened? And I, in riots, so I made it sure that I went in and washed my hands because your knuckles would be gray, from, stuff like that. So I went in, knocked all that out, and then the lotion, whatever it was I could, I put it on. You know what I mean? I had that stuff that we have that sell on the table with the oils and stuff. I just rubbed all on my knuckles, so that ain't nothing. I've been in riots and penitentiaries, and I know what they look for. If they're so, well, what happened? They saying to the police, he hit me, and he did this, and he did that. I said, And then I asked everybody, so didn't nobody see it? It happened too quick. Boom, 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 just like that. And then after that, I'm just standing back behind the table. You know what? I mean, it happened that fast. Boom, boom, boom. And that's it. And they actually they didn't see it. What did you see? They admitted. I don't see nothing. So finally, the sergeant is taking all the stuff. He says, I'm getting soaked. He says, because my parents were in the Holocaust. I said, I'm home free now. Shoot, you're a Jew. You can't. I'm home free, which I was. They couldn't do nothing to me. Finally, he says, would you guys just shake hands? I said, shoot, I just shake hands with a Jew anytime. How about y'all? Come on now. They was mad. Anyway, those were the experiences that we would have in those days. But the protocols of Zion, Henry Ford loved it. And he said, I like that. He used to print them, and he'd had a Dearborn paper. He'd print them in his paper, stuff like that. But the journalist that I trust more that's into that stuff, he said, and others said it was a forgery. But here's what he said. He says it's like Jules Verne. Jules Verne, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And he said that like Jules Verne, and they had From the Earth to the Moon or something. And they had a big gun all underground, and he said, if you did your mathematical studies, the thing that the amount of powder and all that it would take to send that thing up that far the mathematics was correct. The only thing is a nigga would be smashed right up against, you know what I mean? Your body, just imagine you inside of a big gun that's going to shoot you to outer space. God, no. You would be like the people that jumped out of the World Trade Center. They were just a blot, right? Anyway, so that's what he said. He said, the protocols of Zion is like Jules Verne. Everything you add it up, it comes out right. It's a study. He said a Russian agent trying to cause trouble. Because remember, a lot of the people for the freedom movement from under the Tsar was Jews and others. Yeah, he said, and
So just to his question though, or his point, can we say that now the Zionists are exposing themselves?
oh my goodness, you talking about happy? No, I mean they're on the African thing. They say, no, 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 no. The Zionists, see, they get more and more arrogant. The Zionists used to have influence in America, but they didn't control it. For the last decades, remember we've talked about they control it now. They have absolute control. And the same thing about those people we said we just silent on them, the ladies that got elected before to the Congress. You see how they acting now? Ilham Umar and them and a little. They voting for Zion. That's why we said we silent on it, because it looked like, why no men? Why you don't give no a gangster no job? Why is sweetie pies that'll crumble under a little, and why you take a barmaid, the little Ocasio, the lady, right? A barmaid. Anyway, it's okay. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, that's why we trust what we got to do. And we whooping they behind. And that's where it is. See, we're not afraid of the Zionists. Everybody else is afraid of them. They're really afraid. That's why the FBI would send a little smoke signals and they won't put their foot in. We're trying to drag them in. We say, you save your country. You stole this country from the Indians and you worked us to death, and you gonna let these bums steal it from you? We'll help you keep it, and we'll all live here happy together. Now, not because you passing no freedom and liberty out, but that's our charge for helping save America. We don't want to be no Captain America or nothing like that. We want, what did we call it before? America the Good. We've been on the same thing all along, America the Good. The Zionists, their fingerprints, they're done for. You don't have to worry about them. They always drive to the cliff and keep on going. That's why everybody in history go through what we're going to, but now it's a global thing. And that's the thing, the Turkati and all of those things, they're trying to save their people from their own worst, you know what I mean? Because they know how people get with Jews. Because I asked the rabbi, I said, the one that said, this is our friend, I was talking to him about wudu. I said, we wash, said, do y'all have rituals? He didn't just answer and say, we do this, we do that. He says, there was programs during the bubonic plague, because the people thought we was spreading it, or why we wasn't getting it, because we was washing. He said, you got to remember, in those days, white folks didn't believe in washing much. You know the Queen of England, what she said? She says, I bathe at least once a month, even if I don't need it. I mean, I'm imagining that was a purification bath after mints. Can you imagine the gag? You ever smelt Euro's body stuff? Gagging. I mean, it's a long story. It couldn't happen to us because we go to Juma once a week. We got to bathe. Those people didn't bathe. If they fell in the water, or something like that. Sure. But just to, now the Romans they bathed and all that. The Romans were civilized. Romans had baths and hot tanks. They bathed. But Euros, real Euros, see, the Romans is Mediterranean. They Euros. I ain't gonna get into that big dialectical who's who. But are there any more questions?
Well, a brother did say that he was bringing up during the beginning of the lecture. He talked a lot about As-Sabiqun and stuff. And he was saying, he said, I was just telling a brother about that the other day, the history of As-Sabiqun in D.C. from A Street to now. This was a comment left by Brother Furqan.
Huh?
This was a comment by Brother Furqan, and he was saying that he was just telling a brother about that the other day.
Right.
What your whole the conversation about As-Sabiqun,
Right.
how this organization matches it from A Street to here.
No.
He was mentioning that. I don't know why he had to say that, but
Believers, look. I could almost just sit down and be quiet, but the world is headed in our direction. The world is headed in our direction. We're the one traveling along, and other people might be doing it too, but they're not explaining it any better than we are. Iran is not explaining it any better. The Houthis is not explaining it any better. Lebanon does a pretty good job. Boy, Sheikh Syed Nasrallah, he gives good lectures. I like his lectures. Especially if it's on Lebanon, he gonna give you down. He gonna give you up to the. But that's what we're traveling in. You got to look at it. Our team is winning. Our team is winning. Our team is suffering, but the suffering is purification, because to do what they're doing, they have to become kind of purified. For Iran to do what it's doing, their good deeds is wiping out all the other fitna that they have. Because they're not perfect, but they're doing everything that good people would do. Right? Can you imagine how the Palestinians feel with all the Arabs and turn their back on them? And the Israelis can do anything they want to them? Don't worry. Everything will come to its point. Are there any more questions? That's all. Okay. Bismillah. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار اللهم أنت السلام ومنك السلام تباركت يا ذا الجلال والإكرام الحمد لله رب